we are going to kick off our post-race media availabilities today here for the Enjoy Illinois 300. We are now joined by Brian Wilson, crew chief for the number 2 team, and Walter Czarnecki, the executive vice president of Penske Corporation. For both of you, before we open it up to questions, why don't you walk us through, those final laps and what it feels for the number 2 team to get their first win of the season?
Yeah, I feel like, to start with, it was a great day for everyone at Ford to have 2 of our cars up front, and the 22 obviously ran well as well. It was a great day. For the 2 cars specifically, it was going to be a good day. But then all of a sudden, within a lap, it turned into a great day for us. For our team, it's great to see. We've had a lot of progress this year, and feel like we've been building towards this to be able to compete for wins. So to be able to get it was a great day.
All right, we'll go ahead and open up to questions. We'll start right up here and then go to Bob.
Brad Harrison from FreshFresh.com. I know the 12 has some fuel issues late. Did you all feel like you were short late, or did you feel confident in what you had there?
No, honestly, at that point, we felt like we were in a good position. Obviously, on that last stop, everyone's trying to be as quick as they can. But we were in a fortunate position where I felt pretty good about it.
All right, we're going to go to Bob as soon as he gets the mic.
Thank you. Bob Pockris, Fox Sports. For both of you, how would you describe Austin's kind of attitude or approach? Do you feel like he's racing as if he feels like he's racing for his job? Do you feel like he's racing feeling like, okay, I'm still a young driver just trying to improve? Where do you see him?
I think, Bob, I wouldn't use that former description. He's a fellow who's been frustrated, but he's come along, and particularly the last 5 or 6 races, we've seen a great deal of progress. He's never lost his desire, his intensity, I use the word desire, to win. And if we give him a good car like we did today, like Brian and the team did, and as Brian said, we had 3 good dark horse Mustangs today, he demonstrated. One other thing, I thought that toward the end of the race, when the 12 and the 20 were putting on such a great show for the spectators here today, it was worth the price of admission, I think. As a fan, I enjoyed that. I was watching Austin, and he was patient. He was patient. He didn't push the issue. There were some guys on him, and he just hung in there and drove. But I will tell you, Bob, he has not lost his desire, and this is a real reaffirming circumstance from today. So, in fact, we just talked about it in Victory Lane. So we've never lost faith in Austin Cindric, I promise you.
All right, go ahead.
Yeah, Justin Bradley from Fox 19 Cincinnati. Yesterday I talked to Austin about building speed, and you guys obviously had a lot of speed today. And you put yourself in the right position. A lot of times you got to have a complete race, and you guys really were there in position, and you did have a complete race. So how does that build momentum for you guys going forward?
Yeah, I feel like that's been a focus of ours. We feel like we've had a lot of really good Saturdays. Practices have been strong. Qualifying has been strong for us at times. And so for us to be able to have a complete weekend, start the race with good speed, make sure we executed it and we could stay up front, run in the top 5 for a majority of the day, I think says a lot about the progress of our team, where we're at, being able to take the speed that we find on Saturdays, kind of in perfect situations where you're practicing by yourself, clean air, qualifying where it's just single lap, and then take all that speed and translate that into a really strong Sunday to where Austin's happy with the car. We made minimal changes throughout the day to keep up with the track, and I just think it speaks to where the team's at.
I think if I could just comment on that too as well, the strategy that Brian and Paul and Jonathan utilized, that when some people went to 2 tires early on, and they maintained their game plan. They stuck with their game plan. And who knows when you're back running 23rd, 24th, and something happens, a caution, and all of a sudden you're in trouble. But these guys stuck with it, and it paid off at the end basically for all 3 of them.
All right, we're going to go right up here.
Hey, I'm Benjamin Hockman from the St. Louis newspaper, the Post-Dispatch. From more of a storytelling standpoint, can you talk about how special this is for Austin and his family, some of the family members you might know a little bit?
Well, I know his father very well, as you might imagine, and I was with his father the last 2 days at our race in Detroit, and I just talked to his dad. I called him, and I know how important it is to him. I mean, there may be an extra measure of pressure on Austin, frankly, because his father we've given him the responsibility for our race team operations. But I can tell you, Austin's a driver, and his dad's is a manager, and the two don't meet at all. Believe me. In fact, he probably holds Austin to a little bit higher standard than everybody else. So again, this is a great day for Austin and for his family. As I said, his dad was overjoyed when I just talked to him.
This question for Brian, Jeff Thornton, Herald Publications. How you win, so that puts you in the playoffs now. How does that changes your strategy for next week? I mean, it makes it a lot easier, doesn't it, to take that pressure off of you because you guys are in now. So
in
tell
some
us
ways it
about
makes
that.
it easier for sure, but we're also in a situation where we know we need to keep making the progress that we've been making. We've been making gains, and where we started the year isn't going to be good enough at the time of the playoffs. So we know that we have to keep trying things, and we have to keep making sure that every facet of our game, all the track styles that we go to, are strong. And so I think that gives you a little bit of flexibility to maybe try something if you need to. But I don't know that we're going to get too far off of the path that we've been taking that's been showing progress for us.
All right, we're going to go right up here in the white shirt.
This is a question for Brian. Samuel Stubbs, yardbarker.com. Joey Logano won here a couple years ago. Ford very fast this weekend in practice and qualifying. And they were very fast here last year, too. How much did you lean on your teammate, Joey Logano? How much did you lean on other Fords as well to maybe glean some information and then use that to your advantage? You know, your win comes with the misfortune of your teammate, but a big win for you guys. How did you learn from your teammates and Ford in particular for this track?
Yeah, I think that's when a notebook works at its best, when you can take something that worked well. Austin was very happy with his car last year. We knew what we needed to work on. He had a solid day, but as you mentioned, we've got notes from the 12 car who ran well last year and from the 22 a couple years ago. I think the way that it works the best is when you can take pieces of that and you can try to look at what was different and what maybe made them better than what you were and incorporate those into your setup. So without a doubt, we took a lot of that information. To be honest with you, a lot of the information from where the 22, they tested at Wilkesboro. There are some short track aspects to the setup here. So some of the work that the 22 had done recently was incorporated as well. Within the Ford Wheel Force program, we gain a lot of information there as well. So that's when a notebook really works well, is when you can combine that all and give your driver what he needs.
One other thing I'd like to, if I can just comment on that. Those of you who are familiar with the shop where these men work in Mooresville, North Carolina, we have one big floor, and the crew chiefs all have their offices next to each other. One guy's not here, the other one's not over there. They're all together. And at 2 o'clock tomorrow afternoon, win, lose, or draw, there will be a 2-hour debrief call where this race will be dissected. And Brian and his colleagues are there, and the drivers are there, and we have engineers in there. So you asked about learning. Those have all been learning experiences. So we've gleaned a lot of information from what happened here today. So good question.
All right, we're going to go right back there.
Harry Loomis, the podium finish for Brian. Yesterday, after qualifying, Cindric was kind of joking, saying he didn't really know what in particular made him so good here, because he qualified second yesterday, won a stage in 2022. So what do you see from him that makes him so good at this track in particular?
Yeah, I think it really does suit him well. Anytime that you have to combine braking zones, managing different lines, knowing which way the track's going to go, anytime you've got shifting incorporated in it, I think it gives him a lot of tools that he can work with. And he really is a student of the game, and anytime that you have those opportunities, he can really keep up with the track well as it changes. So I think it's a lot of those type of tools that pay off for him.
Do we have any final questions for either Brian? Okay, go ahead.
Mitchell Kaminsky, ABC 17. Kind of going off of the notebook question. I know this track, some drivers are comparing it to Phoenix. Is there anything that you can take away from this weekend? Because you guys seems like you've been fast at each of those tracks that might be applicable next time you guys go there, hopefully racing for a championship.
Yeah, I hope so. That's the short answer, but each track is different, but you definitely can take some trends from it. A lot of the tires are very similar. A lot of the construction is similar. The thicker gauge tire that we've been running recently is something that's carried across a lot of tracks. So end of the day, when you're working off of a notebook, that's what you typically will do is you'll say, well, what is common? What's common from, this racetrack to whether it's Loudon, Richmond, Phoenix, places like that, and you'll try to apply whatever makes sense. Typically with short tracks, it ends up being a lot of the tire settings, whether it's camber, or tire pressures, or toes. But yeah, back to the short story, I definitely hope that it crosses over.
All right, we're going to go to Jeff and then take our final question from Lee.
Sure, Jeff Latsky with AP. All three Penske cars stayed out and didn't pit at the start of stage 3. You talk about when that strategy was formed and the reasons behind it, and if you felt like that made a difference today.
Yeah, a lot of that conversation starts during the week. We've got a great team of engineers that do a lot of research on what's worked and what has not worked. We have a meeting on Wednesday where we all sit there and review the history. And then we also have a meeting in the morning where all the crew chiefs get together and we talk about, well, now that we've seen the tire fall off from practice and we know what the history was plus what we expect, it gives us an opportunity to talk about what do we think we're going to do throughout the day. We oftentimes will challenge each other and bounce ideas back and forth, but oftentimes we do come to the same answer like you saw today.
Go ahead, Lee.
Lee Spencer, SiriusXM NASCAR Radio and CatchFence.com. I'm curious, you all pitted a lap before or after Blaney?
One lap after.
So you think that was the difference?
No, honestly, I would have preferred to pit the same lap as him. They did a great job of disguising that. We felt like that was going to be about a half-second gain in lap time by pitting early. Felt like that was enough to where we were probably going to come out even with them, like you saw. Honestly, it's a situation where we would have liked to have been one lap early. We talk about all the communication, but a lot of times when it comes down to that, when you're racing each other, it's, hey, we're still competing. And so Jonathan made the call, and they came a lap before us. And, as far as the fuel situation, I can't really speak to that, whether or not that was anything that had to do with the lap that they pitted on. But as far as my strategy, I wanted to be the same lap as them. He did. Yes, we had enough for a burnout. Yep.
All right,
No
Brian.
team orders, Lee.
All right, thank you both for the time.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.